What is the longest you've gone without sleep and what happened to you? 72 hours. Felt like I was detached from reality and floating through water. Made zero sense when trying to talk to someone. When I was in the Navy we used to do reactor safety exams at sea, which were basically just a bunch of casualty drills. The exam itself isn't bad, but the workup was heck. We were undermanned, so we really had no bodies to spare and the watch bill was pretty tight. Half the engine room was on a 2-section rotation. So one Thursday during the workup I stood a 6-hour watch from mid 6 am. Then we ran drills from 7 am noon. Then I had watch from noon 6 pm. Then we ran more drills. And then the dude that I was supposed to relieve later hurt himself. So I ended up taking his watch until 6 am Friday. Friday is our field day where everyone cleans all morning. Everyone. No exceptions. So when I got off watch I cleaned until lunch and then got to stand yet another 6-hour watch. Followed by more drills after the evening meal. My head didn't touch a pillow for 48 hours. And not just 48 hours of sitting on bus playing video games, but 48 hours of working and running drills and sweating my dong off. Absolutely exhausted. The irony is that this was an operational safety exam. And here we are operating a nuclear reactor steam plant submarine when we're so tired we barely know our own freaking name. Safety first, am I right, shipmates? When I finally managed to get to sleep I had the absolute craziest dream I have ever had. So crazy and vivid that it's 15 years later now and I still remember it like I was there. I was driving my VW Bug down the PCH. Must have been going south because the ocean is on my right. I stop and get out of my car and stand there looking through the back window and there's a bundle of saran wrapped chunks of bloody, hairy meat. It's writhing and jiggling, and I can't tell if it's human or not. Then I look up and on the beach there's a playground. No kids, just rusty swings flailing around in the wind. Then I look at the water and I fly up and down to the bottom of the ocean. And there are these weird manta ray-like creatures with muscular arms and heads that look like Nightcrawler from X-Men. And there were these sharks that had jellyfish tentacles streaming behind them, connected to elongate tail fins. Then I fly out to an island that has a castle on it, and I go inside. There's a giant wearing a blacksmith apron beating on an anvil. Sparks flying. He begins to turn around, but before I see his face and make eye contact, I wake up. I wasn't right for days after that. I ended up getting in trouble for singing Kill the Wabbit during the exam. I was frickin' loopy. Sleep deprivation is a mother. Thanks for reminding me why I didn't re-enlist. 4 days. Happened last year. I was staying the night at a friend's house on a Friday night, but I felt pretty bad and went to bed early, around 8 or so. When I woke up Saturday morning I was horrifically sick. Nausea, dizziness, diarrhea, aches and pain throughout my whole body, and constantly sneezing and coughing up bloody mucus phlegm. I couldn't breathe fully because my lungs were so completely filled with phlegm and I straight coughed up this bile every minute for 96 hours. I was exhausted the whole time and couldn't sleep. I literally could not fall asleep. I would just lay in bed for 12+ hours at a time and only get up to occasionally eat a cracker or something because it was all I could stomach. After the second day I began hallucinating. I played a lot of Hearthstone to try to take my mind off the constant pain and exhaustion. So I frequently hallucinated the cards flying in front of me, or hearing the sounds. Tuesday night I finally fell asleep for a few hours. When I woke up I had drenched the bed in so much cold sweat we had to throw the mattress away. It was completely saturated. After that I began to recover, but still felt bad. Obviously, I didn't go to school until Friday. Once the whole experience was over I had lost 15 pounds and gained a new appreciation for my overall good health. Had sudden cardiac death in my sleep. GF now fiance did CPR and saved my life. I didn't wake up for 8 days. But when I didn't was told what happened I didn't go back to sleep for 5 days because I was terrified too. Man, that's one of my biggest fears, to wake up dead. 50 hours. I had lost my job at the time. Decided to just stay up as long as I could. When I finally went to sleep, I woke up with a Michael Jackson Live DVD in bed with me. It turns out, I went to Walmart with my roommate and likely stole it. I don't remember buying it and couldn't find any proof that I had purchased it. Thing is, I'm positive I didn't intentionally steal it. I probably just walked out without paying. because I straight up forgot. By that time it was like hour 47. Whoa, you're smooth criminal. Around 30 hours. Had a baby. Went into labor just as I would have been going to sleep for the night. In labor all night. Baby arrives the next morning. And then well, I just had a baby. It's not like I can just conk out right there with Instalep. I gotta snuggle the baby a little. Loved the ending. Incredible dedication to baby. 48 hours straight. Playing computer, not eating, and consuming only energy drinks. After 46 hours my brain shut off and I was basically sleeping with my eyes open, waking up and doing something on my computer every few minutes for 2 hours until I had accomplished my goal of staying awake for 2 full days. Wouldn't do it again. Forgetting to eat was the worst part. 36 hours. 14-hour road trip overnight. Arrive in Canadian Party City on a hot summer day. Took a swim to stay alert. Purchased stimulants. Consumed said stimulants. Stayed out until 5 AM. Crashed hard. Woke up at noon the next day and continued like this for 3 days then drove back. Felt like absolute crap for a week after. Sorry to you poor tired souls in this thread. These are all pretty impressive, but it's really nothing to be proud of. Lack of sleep does a tremendous amount of harm to you and your body. It can lead to heart disease, low sex drive, shortened lifespan, the works. Please don't turn this thread into motivation for depriving your body of a necessity. You can literally die from lack of sleep. It's used as a method of torture. Take care of yourself and your body and get some actual rest. 3 days. A manager just quit, leaving only me and another. His appendix burst Sunday night. Just me. Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday mornings we were having an extra fitting room added. The work couldn't be done during mall hours so I was in at 5 AM to let the construction guys in. I never have that much time without customers so I just tried to change everything in the store. Store closes at 11 p.m. because it's almost Christmas. When I got home around midnight, I couldn't sleep. Woke up around 4 AM and did it all over again. Same with Wednesday. I would be dead tired at work. My hearing was going in and out and I couldn't concentrate on anything. I lived on coffee and Red Bull, which pretty much only made me jumpy nervous and kept me up at night. Wednesday night I drank a couple of beers for my friend's birthday. I was drunk in about a half hour. We finally got a manager from a different store into work Thursday morning. I made a ton of money that week between commission and working 19-hour days, but I also was a total zombie. Wouldn't recommend. Corporate, regional directors, or your store's owner absolutely should have found coverage for the first guy as soon as they found out. This should have never happened to you. Love, a retail manager. 6 days and nights in agonizing withdrawal from H and County lockup. I honestly couldn't tell you anything interesting about it. All I could focus on at the time was how awful I felt without H. I quit H though. Whoa, kudos, man. 65 hours playing a video game. I was doing a competition that I actually ended up winning. I don't regret it, but the headaches and fever I had were borderline unbearable. 48 hours. When I was in undergrad, I had to write a lengthy final thesis for both of my majors at the same time. Having procrastinated a little like it's my job, I ended up on a working marathon. I was pretty loopy by the end of it, and when I got home I decided to have a few lot of beers. I remember getting into bed, pretty buzzed and feeling weird, and going to sleep. Next thing I remember is an extremely painful and serious knock to my head. Then I remember trying to open a locked door. Suddenly, I wake up in my bedroom, standing in the doorway with my hand on the light switch. My entire body ached. I was covered in dirt, and my window was open. I had no idea how I got there or what was going on. Turns out, due to the combination of stress, sleep deprivation, and alcohol, I started sleepwalking and climbed out of my second-story bedroom window and landed right between a tree and a concrete step. The next morning I pieced what had happened together. I went to class and realized how bad my body was hurting. Called the doc. He told me to go to the emergency room. Spent most of the day there getting all kinds of tests done. Turned out I was mildly concussed and had bruised a rib. Nothing serious. Scariest experience of my life. Slept in my basements for 3 months after that. TL. DR. Pulled 2 consecutive all-nighters, then got drunk and sleepwalked out my second story bedroom window. Whoa, I'm glad you're okay. That could have ended horribly with that step right there. 3. I went to bed at 4:47 am once. My body rejected sleep at this hour because it thought I was waking up. It was frustrating and I'll never do it again. Dang, you live on the wild side. Forced to stay up for 48 hours while blindfolded and standing up the whole time for 24 of them after getting about 4 hours of sleep a night for 2 weeks before that. I was also having water mixed with snow thrown on me and a fan on me at pretty much all times while the heat in the house was turned off. Also had some other physically excruciating hazing that I have some scars from. The worst pain though was from the shivering for pretty much 24 hours straight. And I had also partially torn ACL that was still recovering and still has problems from the standing and shivering. Very close to the end I felt like it would never end and actually contemplated severely fricking up about 12 older members with the paddle I had to hold the whole time while they also had paddles. I also just started screaming non-stop for like 20 minutes because I thought it would be annoying and I freaking hated their guts at that moment. Needless to say, after I got into the fraternity I realized it wasn't worth it and haven't really talked to those suckers since. They still want me to pay my dues. What the frick, why? Not me but my boyfriend at the time went 7 days without sleeping. By day 3 he was erratic and jerky and hearing things. Day 4 he disappears to Virginia with a friend and comes back talking about bonding with his father's land. Day 5 I'm desperately trying to drug his butt so he'll sleep, he's talking about people under the house. Day 6 I have to leave work early because he's taken himself to the hospital because people have been under the house pumping gas into the vents to give him cancer and he needs a chest x-ray. When I went through opiate withdrawal I was up for about 5 days. I barely ate or drank in that time, which added to the overall experience. Hallucinated quite a bit. Walked around and talked to people while having no memory of doing so. It was like I was dreaming while awake and awake while I was dreaming. Nothing was real. It was terrifying and horrific. I procrastinated on a huge final project in my college painting class. I ended up staying awake for 3.5 days straight. I chugged so much coffee and tea. I did so many laps around the dorm area to re-energize myself, jogging outside in the snow, and took cold showers. I was permanently twitchy, had chills, sweats, and seemed much clumsier than what was normal for me. My attention span was shot by day 2, which is what made things take progressively longer. By day 3, focusing my eyes, keeping them open was getting difficult and I thought I kept seeing these little black shadow cats that occasionally darted around the environment but just in the periphery of my vision. I could never catch a solid glimpse of one. The second the final critique ended, I made the usual 15-minute walk for my dorm in about 10, where I promptly dumped all my stuff and stumbled into bed where I slept roughly 18-22 hours. I took several small naps the next day just to enjoy being able to sleep again. Probably about 36 hours. My body felt really heavy and everything was kind of dull, and there was a kind of throbbing I felt behind my eyes. Not a fun experience. I wanna say 72 hours during my last set of final papers at college. Keep in mind I was held together by Red Bull, cans of Coke, cigs, weed, and pure willpower. Vision was incredibly shaky and fuzzy at that, like my eyes had a bad Wi-Fi connection to the outside world. Some minor hallucinations accompanied it. Nothing like a vision quest but little dark shadows in the corner of my eye so I'd think someone was right next to me. Or that something had just dashed out of my vision, like when you swear there's a mouse in your room. I'd mistake a trash can for a person at initial glance. Thought I would hear my text message notification on my phone, someone shouting my name every once in a while. Handed in my final paper, sometime around noon, went back to my dorm room and slept for 17 hours. A proper rodent sleep. When I woke up the next evening I stumbled out of bed from exhaustion and deprivation. Roughly 4 days. I don't know what it was but I just couldn't sleep. Eventually I kind of just fell over and died. I'm still getting used to this whole afterlife business. Being a ghost is weird. I tend to just open and close a lot of doors. I mess with lights to pass the time. Crap sucks. About 30 or so hours. I started working day-night shift work a few months back and my body had no clue how to react to 12-hour day or night shifts. I'd get home at 7 or so in the morning and not be able to sleep for a few hours. Then I'd get a couple hours of sleep, then be up for the rest of the day and the following night shift. I'm currently on hour 41. It just so happened to line up for me like this, but I work third shift at a nursing home, so I'm used to taking doubles and not sleeping, but this weekend was rough. I had Thursday night off, so I woke up around 10 AM Friday morning and cleaned my house, did laundry, etc. I'm training for my black belt, which is important here, so I had a mandatory 2-hour class at 6 PM Friday. Went to that, then stayed and got out of work at 7 AM, went to another mandatory class from 8:12. I had agreed to volunteer to run a kids program at the dojo last night from 4-8, so did that. Cleanup brought me to 9:30 PM Saturday, so I grabbed a coffee and now it's 3:30 AM Sunday and I'm still awake. Oh, and I stupidly bought tickets for my husband and I to see Deadpool tomorrow at 2 PM, so I'll probably go home and crash for 4 hours until I have to get up and shower and take him out, then make dinner and come back to work tonight. I bet you sleep through the movie, LOL. About 110 hours, 4 in 1 stroke 2 days. Due to severely injured hand. Looked horrible. Isolation and necessity. Result was I almost died. Was a bad time. I stayed up for 78 hours drinking only vanilla Coke to write a 14,000 word essay I hadn't started until that time period once. Then I drove into school to hand it in with an hour to spare. Nothing freaky to report, but a proofread became impossible about halfway through as the words started jumbling and not making sense. Was just starting to get to the point of light auditory hallucinations on the way home. Slept 15 hours and woke up dazed but fine. 96 hours. There may have been starvation and beatings. I saw Jesus DJing at a club and a Chinese H slutting it up in a town square. I later found out that I was looking at a list of rules. The highlight was getting permission to take a crap. Frick that noise. Past few days. Plus 50 hours. I'm sure I fell asleep at times without even being aware, but I don't remember sleeping. Wife's water broke and we had to wait for labor to begin a long time. I didn't even really feel tired. Too many other emotions and things to take care of. Everything came to a happy ending this morning. The baby arrived. Everyone is okay and we can all finally sleep. For now. Congratulations. I hope you all sleep right now. 1 week. I had started taking Wellbutrin and my body literally forgot how to fall asleep. After a couple of days, I was physically exhausted, but as soon as my head touched the pillow, my eyes shot open and I was instantly wide awake. I was pretty much a mess by day 6, unable to concentrate on anything and just constantly miserable until I finally thought to take some OTC sleeping pills. After taking them for 4 nights straight, my body finally remembered how good sleep is and I got back to a normal schedule. That happened to me on Wellbutrin, too. I was up for at least 3 days straight and started going on weird crying jags. At the same time, I thought I was a superhero and would go on 12-mile walks a couple times a day. I lost 10 pounds in a week from that and not being able to eat. I did 36 hours. I woke up for work at 5 AM on Friday morning. I worked till 3. At that point I was in charge of picking up the whole hog. Myself and 3 co-workers would be cooking for the company picnic on Saturday. Go the hog. Got it rubbed down and injected. And on the smoker. Stayed up all night keeping an eye on it. And then the party started. Pulled the hog off around noon, ate and did cleanup and then drove home 45 minutes with 35 hours awake. Got home and slept for about 10 hours. Probably about 40 hours. Up in the morning when the baby woke. Had a toddler to look after too. He got sick, so I was up all night looking after him. Baby wakes in the morning as usual. Have to stay awake until nighttime when both kids are simultaneously asleep to go to bed myself. 63 hours. Most of it spent in transit between hostels, airports, aeroplanes, more airports, more aeroplanes, delays, staying awake trying to hide my fever from Chinese airport security, more aeroplanes, and after all of that, a welcome home party. Death. I felt like that bug in the play during A Bug's Life. 48 hours, and it was only because I decided to take a crap ton of OTC diet pills back in the mid-90s. I puked for the first 36 hours, or so it felt like it, and I was miserable for the entire time. 36 hours. My sleep schedule was fricked up, waking up at 5-6 p.m. and going to bed at 5-6 a.m. So I figured out if I stay up all night and all day I could go to sleep at a normal time. Didn't help. 4 nights. I've got every sleep disorder in the book except narcolepsy. The worst part is once I did go to sleep I often sleepwalk. That's led to some weird crap. 4 days. After I had my daughter, she has health issues and cried constantly. My husband had gone back to work after a week, and so I was pulling day and night duty with the baby. By day 3 I'd cry at the drop of a hat. By day 4 I had figured out that if I jumped out of the window in our landing upstairs I would land on the back patio. If I did it at 3:55 my daughter would only be alone 10 minutes. I ended up calling my mom, who was on night shift, and she watched her on what would have been night 5. I slept 12 hours. I work night shift for a large pharmaceutical company, 12-hour shifts, which is the standard, and for some reason they refuse to put mandatory training on nights, so if we want to remain compliant, we have to do it on days. It is immensely common for our team to go 48 hours without sleep because they'll work at 6 p.m. 6:30 am, get breakfast, go to training from 8:05, then go to work from 6 p.m. 6:30 am. Lots of us also live greater than an hour from work. This happens to at least 1 or 2 team members a month. When I first started this job a few years ago I had a mandatory 2-day training in between my regular shift. So I went in Monday night 6 p.m. 6:30 am, training 8:05 Tuesday, Tuesday night 6:30, Wednesday training. Training was at an office an hour away from the plant, so I had no breaks. I was very unhappy and fell asleep in the training on Wednesday. I remember very little from Tuesday around 300 onwards. For the standard 48-hour stay-ups we do, you get a second wind around 20 hours, and another wind around 40. You're just very tired. You make more mistakes. We work with extremely high pressure systems and with highly acidic caustic materials at our job. And people have and will continue to get hurt in this field when things like this happen. I have made numerous complaints about the way our hours work, but no one listens to me because the company is too big and I'm too small a fish. 4 days with agonizing toothache. Painkillers didn't work and have money for a dentist. By the end of it I couldn't understand what people were saying to me and just spoke gibberish myself. A 96-hour descent into lunacy. Timmy Turner proved that you can go multiple weeks without sleep, and the only thing that will happen is that worms will start growing out of your face. Which is great, because I can just use a medicated facial scrub every day, and I can skip sleep without any side effects. 3 days. I'd just broken up with a longtime boyfriend, and was packing my things to move out. He wasn't dealing with it well, and so he took large handfuls of every type of pill in the bathroom. Among them, phentermine, Vyvanse, citalopram, Chantix, Wellbutrin, and Provigil. He proceeded to bug the frick out, became violent, and threatened to kill mine in the breakup. Pets if I left. He didn't sleep at all, and wouldn't let me either. I had no doubt he'd kill my pets, so I didn't make a run for it. I tried to wait it out until he passed out. When he realized I needed sleep, he began to toy with me, wouldn't let me go to the bathroom alone so I couldn't even sneak a small nap, wouldn't let me take anything to help keep me awake, just continued to follow me around, spouting manic nothings in a psychotic state. All I could do after a while was cry weakly and drag myself from room to room trying to get away from his voice. I was hallucinating bugs out of the corner of my eye, fuzz on the wall. Finally I grabbed a kitchen knife and his grandfather's pocket watch. I positioned myself by the door to the garage like I was going to make a run for it. Finally, I baited him with the watch, opened the door, and he ran at me. I tossed the watch into the garage. He ran after it, which was nice, because I didn't really want to stab him, and I locked the door behind him. I ran to the hall and turned off the power to the garage, trapping him. Then I climbed up to get my cell phone from where he'd put it out of reach, and called 911. I didn't know how much time had passed until it was over. I've never told this story before, Hey, a bit late to the party, but I actually have a very detailed story. My record was 5 days, nearly 6. It all started with a bet. I was visiting my extended family, and my cousin whom I was staying with for the week bet me he could stay awake the longest. And so our story begins. Day 1 wasn't too hard at all. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with staying up a whole day. Nothing out of the ordinary, and as long as we could find things to do we were pretty lively. Day 2 wasn't too hard either. Sure, we were a little worn out, but we supplemented our depleted energy with a lot of Mountain Dew. Like a 24-pack per person. That night we had some trouble staying up until we started competing games of StarCraft. A good match can easily go 2 hours, and we played quite a few. Day 3, utter heck. I've never felt worse in my life. I was falling into micro sleeps every couple of seconds and then startling myself awake, like when you wake up from a falling dream. It was heck. I'm pretty sure I had arrhythmia the whole day, but that could be caused by the Mountain Dew. During the day I cut myself with a saw pretty badly due to my tiredness, but it didn't hurt at all. I just watched it bleed for a long time. That night was the hardest thing I ever have done. We ended up binge watching all the Chucky movies to scare us awake. It worked. Day 4 rolls around. I felt euphoric. Everything was a haze. Like if you had a fogged up mirror and viewed life through that, except it harmonized. Colors melded together. Sounds became dissonant. And everything felt amazing. The world felt like it was a symphony, playing for me. Day 5. I don't recall how I got anywhere. I kept forgetting everything. I ate breakfast twice that day because I forgot I ate it once. I remember only a few tidbits about the day. The rest is totally blank. I remember my cousin waking up after he slept on day 4 and saying I won. I remember a dog sleeping and I felt like it was me that was sleeping instead of the dog. Real weird stuff, like an out of body experience, but a whole day. Then blackness and I woke up like 18 hours later on a carpet. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.